Hi everyone, my name is Alyssa, and today I want to share with you some thoughts that I had on Circe, a book by Madeline Miller. I wouldn't call this a review because I don't plan to critique or pay attention to all of the details that I think would be necessary to include in a review, but rather just 3 points that were things I had thoughts about while reading this book. This book has been very popular and there are a lot of reviews out there, so as far as the synopsis and the writing style and all of those things, there are plenty of reviews for you to look at. As for my thoughts, I did review this book in my January part 2 wrap up, and so if you watch that, you'll know that I had some emotional feelings towards this book. My first thought is that when I first read the book, I hated every character. Every character in at least the first half of the book. There were a few that were okay in the second half, and it really frustrated me. I also felt that, especially in the first half of the book, that there was no nuance in any of the characters. They were very one-dimensional. They were very irrational in their behavior, and it drove me crazy. Like I said, a lot of emotional reactions. However, with time, I've come to appreciate the fact that my reaction was a bit like hating an actor for playing a villain well in a film. The truth is, the characters of Greek mythology, the gods, are despicable. They were horrible, horrible, horrible. And so hating them because they are irrationally vengeful and maliciously vindictive in this book was simply Madeline Miller staying true to her source material and doing a good job with it. I haven't been able to reconcile the fact that the emotional, like how irritated and frustrated I got with these characters detached me from the book and made me stop reading so I could like just be frustrated in my own head with how horrible these characters were, and that sort of disrupted the reading experience and has been, and that emotional reaction is probably what I most strongly associate with the book now, and that's probably not the best thing. Like I said, I think that those emotional reactions were valid, but I've had to put them in one box and sort of objectively look at the book, while putting those emotions away. And I think, like, I'm glad that with a month of time I've been able to do that a bit more. But anyway, that's like the first thing, my first takeaway from this book was how much I hated all of the characters, and that it was both a, good job Madeline Miller for making me hate them, and also maybe you did too good of a job because now I can't appreciate the rest of your book because of how much I hate your characters. Like, if you've read this book, did any of you have such an emotional reaction to them? I literally hated the characters so bad. In defense of Circe, who was not so bad, I unfortunately still felt that in the midst of all of these irrational, volatile gods, Circe fell flat. And still felt unnuanced, but in a completely different way, in part because everyone else was so irrational and volatile that it felt like they were acting so much and that Circe was only ever reacting. There are a few, this is a little bit different in the second half of the book, but in the first half of the book there are like 2 occasions I can think of where that's not exactly the case, but for the rest of it I felt like she was a very muted and reactive character, and that drove me crazy. The second point that I had, which is rather short, is just that I don't think I fully appreciated, and I wish I had taken time to sort of keep this in my mind or appreciate it while reading the book, that Madeline Miller creates this narrative by piecing together so many other disjointed stories, whether it comes from the Odyssey. I think that Circe is also in the Iliad, but I'm not sure. Yes, no, I think she is. And then also just a plethora of other myths. It's really quite impressive that Madeline Miller is able to piece all of these together into a coherent narrative, especially one that gives motivation and context for all of the events and even has an arc, a storyline. I think that she does it in a cohesive way while reading it. I felt that the pace was a little bit slow, but again, like I said, I wish that I had maybe kept in mind the fact that the narrative was produced from so many disjointed source materials that it's actually quite masterfully brought together. My third and final point is not one that I actually have a strong position on either side of the fence on this, but it's that I had a hard time with the fact that this story has been oftentimes called a feminist retelling. While reading the book, I was constantly waiting for the feminist element and felt like it never came. As far as the feminism was concerned, the best argument I could find for it was that this was a story of Greek mythology, which has been predominantly a male-narrated and even misogynistic discipline when it comes to the stories of, Greek mythology. And this one was told by a woman. However, if a story being feminist means that it's being told by a woman, that's a weak argument. I think that there's flaws all over in that. That doesn't make something feminist. With time to reflect, I've realized that I do think that there are some feminist themes that Madeline Miller does a good job discussing in this book, though she does them very subtly. I don't know if the idea of Circe telling her own story or claiming her destiny or even her sexuality are feminist themes that I could get behind, and in the idea of them being feminist themes. I don't feel like that's all there enough to be able to deserve that label, but I can see the argument for it. However, there were some other, again, subtle ways that I think that Madeline Miller did do a good job. One, which I was really brought to my attention by Kathryn from the Reader's Athenaeum, was that the role or the title of witch has always been historically a very sexist term, yet the way that Circe, who is called a sorceress or a witch, is presented in this book really does reclaim that idea and present it as something that is both very natural and organic, but also a skill and a valuable attribute. And I think that that was very clever and really appreciate the subtlety in that. Recognizing this element has made me realize that I don't think I fully appreciated all of the elements of this book the first time around. But I also don't think that it's a flawless book. I don't think I could rave about Madeline Miller's writing style the way that a lot of people have. And even having said that I don't think I fully appreciate it while reading it, I have no interest in rereading it. Anyway, these are a few of my thoughts on the book, and they're a bit all over the place. And like I said, this isn't a review so much as just some thoughts. If you've read this book, share with me your thoughts. Do you agree or disagree with any of my ideas? I still feel that my opinion on this book is quite fluid and will change, but there it is. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in a future video. Bye!